How have you seen Malik maybe evolve or grow more into a leadership role from March to where we are now?
Uh, yeah, I think it's early, but I think Malik's trying. I think we had some really good postseason meetings with him that kind of bled into the early summer. And so, what I would say, I actually met with Malik today, one on one for a while, and just complimented him on his effort. Like if you're going to make some improvements and if you're going to make some changes, the first thing is you have to want to embrace that. And it's one thing to sit around and talk about it. It's a whole other thing to actually try to execute it on a daily basis. But I think he's working on just kind of his maturity in terms of handling success and handling adversity. He's working on trying to be a leader in his own way, and really that all starts with relationships with his teammates. So I think it's very visible that he's a returner. It's very visible that he's been in this program before, and so I'm proud of him. He's had a good first week in terms of just trying some new things. Last year as a new player, as you can imagine, you're just trying to survive. You're taking it all in. This year he seems to be a little bit more confident in himself, not pressing so much on the court and off the court, and he's doing a good job getting to know his teammates early on.
Augusto kind of just pointed at you why he came to Oxford, but what's from your perspective that relationship looked like so far to bring you?
Yeah, I really like Gusto. He's another one of these guys basketball doesn't define. He's had an amazing early part of his life, being from Brazil, coming to the States, pursuing an education through basketball. So he's somebody I have a lot of respect for. The first conversations we had weren't kind of typical player coach, portal recruiting. We obviously talked about basketball, but we talked about other things. I think he has a chance to be one of the leaders of this team because of his composure. Doesn't seem to get too high or too low. He's earning our trust. At the same time, we're trying to earn his trust as well. But he appears to be a guy that, if he tells you he's going to do something, he's going to try to do it. You can have a grown man conversation with him. Basketball is just really intrigued. He's really a positionless player. He's got size. He can also stretch the floor like Dia and other guys that can shoot the basketball. He brings a confidence about him. We're looking for guys that know how to win. We're looking for guys that have been coached. And Thad Matta at Butler, in my opinion, is one of the best coaches in college basketball, period. I don't have a personal relationship with Coach, but I think there's some respect there. And speaking to him about Gusto, he said some pretty strong statements, that he believed in him as a young player. Gusto had some adversity with some injuries, never was able to play a full season. So we're hoping he can have his most healthy year of basketball. But I think he can really help this team because he can play different positions. He's a mature guy. He's a big part of what we're doing here.
Just a week into the summer drills here, just your early thoughts on Corey Chest and what he's going to bring for you.
Yeah, I think Corey, two different ways to look at Corey. You look at him as an SEC transfer that had some real moments in the league as a young player, which is really hard to do. Or you can look at the other side of the coin where he's still a young player himself, just a sophomore in the SEC. So there's a role for him. There's some urgency for him to contribute on a daily basis and be a big part of our team this year on the court. But we're also spending a lot of time and effort on player development and developing his game, both physically and mentally, where, we'll see where he ends up. So it's always a good thing to have young talent in your program that can also contribute physically while they're still trying to kind of grow into being a player. Athletic guy. He's got some competitiveness to him. He's a real player development guy. He's got to work on his skill level. And he embraces that. I don't want to speak for him, but one of the decisions I think for him to come here was kind of the vision that we laid out for him, not only day one or season one, but also the future. He's an athletic guy. He's a great teammate. All the guys, myself included, enjoy being around him. But like Zach said, his athleticism is a game changer. He can do some things that other guys can't do. So it's really that, two sides of the coin. What can he do to help us today? And then where could this guy be in the future if he works on his game?
You mentioned Gusto having a chance to lead, but could this team have two Brazilian leaders? Was Klafke kind of the expectation for him, or what do you need from Klafke this year?
Yeah, there was a lot there. What was the question?
Gusto could be a leader. Could Claffey, the other Brazilian, could he do it too? Step into that role kind of more.
Yeah, for sure. So, every team has leaders in different ways. I think a lot of times when you think of the leader, you think of Tom Brady or Kobe Bryant. There's no denying that leadership is special. But every guy on the team has to be a leader in his own way. So, first thing that we try to explain to the players, I really believe this, is, there's no leader if there's not followers. Like Tom Brady, for example, he was studied him a lot this off season, and he said it himself in several interviews over the years. It's like, I get the identity of being the quarterback. It comes with the job, but I can't lead if other guys don't want to follow. And so, certainly understanding that with the players. So what most people might perceive as our leader, the captain, whoever goes out there and shake hands with the other team's player and does the coin flip or whatever. No coin flip in basketball, you know what I'm saying? That guy's not a leader unless he has people in the organization that want to follow. So trying to encourage all these guys to pick and choose their moments and lead in certain ways. Gusto has a chance to be a leader because of his experience, his age, his demeanor, his life experiences. He's been through a lot. Klafke has a chance to lead this year. He's one of 3 returners on the team. Or Max was on the team last year, just didn't get to play, but one of 4 guys that wore the jersey last year. Klafke also can really lead through his effort, crowd favorite early on, just with the energy he plays with, and that bleeds into everybody else. So, guys lead in different ways, and then from time to time over the years, you're blessed to have that special guy that wants it all on his shoulders. Too early for us to identify that yet, but what's a given and kind of a non-negotiable is everybody on this team's going to have to find their ways to lead in certain ways, and everybody's going to have to be a follower as well.
Last week, I think it was confirmed that you guys are hosting Miami for that ACC, SEC. What do you think about drawing them and having them here?
Did you guys get that from Swartz, or did you have to read it on the internet?
Got it.
Yes. I think both.
Job, Swartz. What color shirt is that, Swartz? It's like a turquoise today.
Aqua, turquoise.
Yeah. So looking forward to the ACC Challenge. Miami coming to Oxford, home game. That's an important thing for a lot of reasons. We want to try to have quality opponents for the season ticket holders. Coach Lucas, friend of mine, known him since he was a player and competed against him over the years. A lot of respect for him. Most recently, what he did at Duke. And so we know this about Miami. They're going to be talented. They did a really good job in recruiting the spring portal. And then, Jay has a lot of just experience in basketball. His dad, his brother, he's a great player himself. So very similar, I think, to kind of the Louisville game last year. Louisville being a first-year program and stuff. I kind of had a feeling that I felt really strongly about it, that Louisville was going to be a really good opponent, an NCAA tournament team, whereas most people kind of disagree with that. I think the same thing could be said for Miami. I think their coaching staff knows what they're doing. They did a great job assembling talent on the roster, so it'll be a great opportunity game for us.
Weekend, with so many new guys, you're having to kind of mix in and gel. Do you feel like you're where you'd like to be a week in the summer, whatever your mile marker was in your head?
Yeah, a lot of urgency on that. We're just fighting time. Like you just want to have a team meeting and a team exercise. You want to just kind of max the 24 hours every day, but it is the summertime, and a big part of summer is balance. We all know what's coming when the grind starts, so it's kind of a fine line. We want to work really hard during the summer, but we also want to encourage these guys to have some fun. Balance is a big part of our process, whether these players, are in a relationship, or a couple of these guys have dogs, which is a huge commitment. All these guys have a passion off the court. And so, it's kind of a fine line in the summer. We want to work extremely hard, but there's great value in just a natural off day too, where these guys can kind of just on their own terms, spend time with each other. And I think we had a really good first week with guys' willingness to do that. I noticed the simple things, like when we meet as a team, is it always the same guys sitting at the same table, or do we have some variety, some diversity? And and who guys are hanging out with, and we've seen that. And again, I give those 4 returning players a lot of credit for what they're trying to help their teammates get comfortable in Oxford. And I think the new guys are coming in here with a lot of courage. You know, this is not a team where a transfer can just come in and you kind of fit in. You know, this is a team where literally, you know, D and Klafke played minutes last year, and other than that, everybody's new. So, but I know the first week felt good. We had a lot of energy around the program. I think we got better in our 3-team practices. We've got some guys already making some strides in the weight room, trying to take some weight off a few guys, trying to put some weight on a few guys. Academically, we're off to a good start. About half our teams in academic classes this first session of summer. We set the same goal that we've had since 1999. We're trying to make all A's and B's as a program. From time to time, you got to fight for a C. But the effort is, you know, where we have a standard around here. And so week 1 felt good. We've got this week and then next week, then the July 4th, we're going to take a few days off. So we're just fighting time more than anything, you know, just trying to get as much done as we can every day. But again, also letting the guys enjoy Oxford. It's a great college town. It's summertime. We all know what's ahead here in a few months, and so it's a fine line for sure.
You mentioned looking at Tom Brady. I guess what made you kind of want to study him a little bit? And I was wondering, have you met him at all? Crossed paths with Tom?
I don't think I've met Tom Brady. I might have shook his hand at some event, but I've never met him in terms of quality conversation or anything. But one thing that I've always done is each off season I'll try to study winning. It doesn't always have to happen in the form of basketball. It doesn't always even happen to be athletic minded, but just trying to kind of study successful people and try to kind of learn what they tick, what makes them tick. And so certainly, you know, with Brady, what he did in football kind of speaks for itself. And I think retirement this past year or so, he's been pretty vocal and does an interview from time to time. Also, always really interested in the guy that will really talk and not all the fluff. That's one of the cool things about today's world with some of these podcasts and stuff. It seems like some of these winners, elite people, will talk a little bit more free than you used to back in the day, you know, when you were on the Roy Firestone. Schwartz, do you know who Roy Firestone is? You?
I know the name, but I'm not.
That's your homework today, Schwartz. Roy Firestone. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like these podcasts, one of the cool things about it are some of these relaxed interviews. You know, like back in the day when I was with Coach Knight, the only way people could really get access to Coach is watch like post-game press conferences, or maybe if he did like a live with Larry King or something from time to time. And so you just starve for information on these people. But now it's like, you know, people just talk on a daily basis. So I think, just the access to information, then you kind of weed it out. You know, you can kind of tell that's kind of fluffy. That's kind of, I mean, that's who he is. If you listen to a guy long enough and you study about him or her, you can kind of understand what makes him tick. So, with Brady, it's like the ultimate kind of chip on the shoulder. I guess wasn't supposed to play in college, ends up being the best player. Wasn't supposed to be a draft pick, ends up being the best player. All of his teams won. I think his relationship with his teammates, relationship with his organizations, coaches, owners, the whole deal. So he's, I really enjoyed, trying to learn as much as I could about him. And then ultimately I get it down to like the Cliff Notes version. You know what Cliff Notes is, Horse? And then try to get that information to the players. I don't expect Gusto to spend all the time that I spend on those projects, but if I can get him the bottom line, if I can give him 5 minutes worth of information it took me 4 months to gather, I always thought that's kind of one of my responsibilities as the coach, is to continue to kind of, help these guys, educate them. And so, yeah, I've spent a lot of time this off-season spring looking at Tom Brady.
You kind of had a podcast, I think, of Fireside Chat. Are you planning to do that again, or is that kind of run its course?
Yeah, we need to. Schwartz? Let's go. Yes, things been good to us over the years, direct communication with the students, and then I think other people enjoy just watching it. And so, we definitely need to do that. We're looking forward to year 3. I think our relationship with our students has grown so much from the first season to last season, and it's just really an important relationship to us. So we've been meeting on all things kind of marketing and stuff like that on a weekly basis since the Michigan State game. We've added some new people to the team here, so yeah, for sure, we're looking forward to doing the best job we can to kind of have that relationship with the students. And the fireside chat is definitely something we should bring back.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.